All right, everyone. Well, today is a red day recap, but it's not just an ordinary red day recap. Today is a max loss red day. My first max loss in almost 2 months. Very disappointing. I had a setback and I was on such a nice run. Now, today, it's not just a max loss. It's also a day where I spiraled. The loss got probably 5 times bigger than it needed to be. I got emotional. I dug my heels in. I got stubborn. I lost my discipline. I lost my composure. I did not stay cool, calm, and collected. Things unraveled today, and it happened very quickly. For those of you who tune in every day, I thank you guys, as always, for being here. And I hope you hit the thumbs up for the Red Day Recap, because I know that you guys get a lot out of these red days. Now, the Green Day recaps are great. And of course, I'm doing a recap every single day, so you're getting the full picture. But on the red days, you get to see where I'm really kind of challenged and sometimes where I'm at my worst, which I hope for you is a reminder that even after decades of experience, we are still just human. Trading is very difficult because of the emotions. And that's where I got tripped up today. I had a trigger and I didn't really recognize it in the moment. And then next thing you know, I had actually crossed the point of no return. I'm usually a lot better at recognizing those triggers and responding, but today got the best of me. So we'll break it down. Let's go ahead and jump onto the screen share. I suppose we'll begin today in this recap with my first trade of the day, which was on BENF. And this was also the stock that triggered me. So it makes sense to start here. I have 4 different stocks that I traded. And miraculously, I am red on all 4. I have, based on being green on anything, I have 0% accuracy. Now, I did have winners today, but in total, I'm red on 4 out of 4 stocks I traded. So clearly, things went wrong. And it's not that there weren't opportunities today. The problem was up here. All right, so let's look at BENF. First trade of the day. I sat down this morning a little after 7 a.m. and at that time we didn't have a lot that looked great on the scanners. To help get you oriented, my routine every single morning is to sit down and look at the scans. So I've got my scanners right here, and NUVO is right now the top scan, which is fine. But earlier this morning, let's see, our leading gappers. Where's this popping out for me? Here it is. All right, so our leading gapper was XBP. Now, XBP, for those of you guys who have been trading the last few weeks, it's a very thickly traded stock. It's a grinder. When I say a grinder, I mean it moves, but it's like trying to run underwater. It's just like really lethargic. But I mean, over time, it does make moves, but it's not easy to day trade. So this was our leading gapper today. Did not like it whatsoever. I'm going to back out of this, zoom in here. So did not like XPB whatsoever. So no trades on that one. Second one, PRFT, no trades on that. SGE, this was just choppy. And, that was sort of the top of our gap scan. So the fact is today, we didn't really have an obvious gapper. And perhaps that was where I made my first mistake, because I ended up trading BENF. Now, BENF made a big move on Friday. It went up 577%. So we had this huge move Friday. And yesterday, when I uploaded my game plan for the week ahead, I said that this would be something to watch today, Monday morning, if it got back up around 8 or 9, because then I'd be watching it for a retest of what level? Yesterday's high. And so this morning when I sat down and saw it popped up to 10, I was thinking, all right, we've got something to work with here. So it ended up going more or less sideways and starting to pull back around 730. So I was like, well, maybe this isn't going to work. It's below VWAP. But, I was thinking it does look like kind of a continuation setup. And we just need to get over VWAP. So my first trade on this was at 830. About 8:32. We didn't have any other news at the bottom of the hour. And then all of a sudden I saw some volume coming in right here. And as that volume started to come in, I bought at about 8:15, 8:20, and it squeezed up to 8:25, 8:35, 8:45, up to 8:50. Actually hit a high right here of 881, which is a great move. I locked up $1,600 on it. Now it ended up rejecting off of VWAP. Not super surprising and coming back down, but nonetheless, I got myself in the green. I broke the ice today. Now, I did it on a stock that was not one of the leading gainers, but was a continuation setup. A little cautious about that, but in any case, no real issue with that trade. That trade was fine. I then switched gears to TCBP. TCBP popped up on the scanner at about, what time was it? It was about 8:30 as well. And so I sort of missed the beginning of the PCBP move, and then I jumped in as it was pushing higher, but I got in on this micro pullback right here and actually lost 40 bucks on it. So this was ended up just rejecting and coming all the way back down to 220. So I'm like, whatever, no big deal. It's fine. I did get a dip trade on it and got myself back to up like $130 or maybe $230, something like that. But it still was really negligible. So nothing super exciting on TCBP. So coming into the open, I was up about $1,500, and I had BENF on watch, and right at the open, it squeezes up. And this is what I was looking at. I was thinking, man, if this thing can break over volume weighted average price right here, well, the VWAP's right here. If we can break over this pivot, then we're looking at this move here. We're looking at a retest of these levels. We could see that move back to 13. And that's what I was thinking. So I ended up jumping in it. And this was right at the open. And it rejected hard. And I honestly was surprised. I bought 1,500 shares at $8.65. And it dumps down here. And I stopped out at 774. It goes all the way down to a halt. However, so in that one trade, I lost a dollar a share, over nearly $1 a share on 1,500 shares. I was back to flat on the day. But as it was halting, all of a sudden, the level 2 started to thin out. It looked like it was going to be a false halt. And I added right there. I was like, okay, here we go. I think it's going to spring back up. False halt. But I was wrong. It actually halted. And it resumed lower. Wow. So just like that, I went from up, 1,500 on the day to red 2,000. Right there, I'm red 2,000. So I lost $3,500 on that move right there. And that was a trigger. That right there. If I coulda, woulda, shoulda. I wish I could go back and walk away right then and there. Now, at that moment, I was, I was kind of like taken aback. I was like, that was ridiculous. Like, man, that was nasty. That was a big flush. And I was like, okay, you're down $2,000, but it's like 9:35, 9:40. Like, it's still very early. And I was sort of feeling like it's too early for me to like throw in the towel, like I just don't feel good about walking away this early, mostly because I was thinking about the members in the community. I was like, I feel bad walking away this early, so I was like, I'm just gonna, I was like, my self-assessment was that I thought I was good. I was annoyed, but I thought I was good. So then, around 9:45, TCBP pops up, curls back up. And as TCBP curls back up, I was thinking, okay, here we go. We're coming back to 3. So I got back in right here, and this was on a little micro dip. It hits 3 and then rejects, and I lost like $600. So now I'm down 20. I think I was down 2,800. Let me get my whiteboard here. So now I'm down $2,800, and oh, my camera's off. Let me switch back to this one. So I'm down $2,800, and my day is starting to unravel. So I like to sort of draw this out for you on the whiteboard so you can get a better sense of what this looks like. So started the day at 0. Well, let's put 0 up here. Got myself up to plus about 1.7, 1,700 roughly. That was a weird way to draw. Okay, that's fine. And then boom, I go to minus 2K right there. And then I'm at minus 2.8K. So now I'm starting to move in the wrong direction. And I said, I'm like, all right, guys, I'm red on both stocks I've traded this morning. Like, I've got to be careful. But at the same time, we were seeing some big moves. We just saw TCBP pop up. We saw SGE pop up. SGE ripped here right around the same time, around 950, and it halted up. And then we saw NURO, I think, no, sorry. NUVO, this one starts to pop up. So I'm like thinking to myself, just hold it together. We've clearly got some momentum. You just need to like sort of regroup. And MI halted up. MI. So this one was halted up and it resumed. And I watched it on resumption right here. It resumes at 880 and I bought 2,500 shares at 888.5 for the squeeze through 8. And the next candle it dumps to 680. It dumps to 680. Look at that. That's ridiculous. So now with 2,500 shares, now I'm down about 4,800. And I'm thinking, all right, I was actually 4,500. And I had $500 until max loss. I was like, this is not looking good. Now, someone said, Ross, did you bring your share size back down to your 5,000 share cap after you drop back below $1,000? And the answer was I didn't. I didn't even think of that until someone mentioned it, which is like kind of shows where I was at like in my head. So when I took this trade on TCBP, it was with 7,500 shares. So not a huge position, but whatever. This one here was with 2,500 shares, which was within the $5,000 max loss. But then my next trade was on NUVO, and I took that with 7,500 shares as well. So now I'm starting to trade a little bit more aggressively. NUVO and trading aggressively into a drawdown is what's going to sort of create that spiraling. So on NUVO, this is around, let's see. So I got in 7,500 shares right here for the break of 5, and it rejects, drops down to 440. So I lost 20, let's see, at that point I was down 6,000 in the red. So I lost another 1,500 there with 7,500 shares. And at that point I was like, okay, I just crossed my $5,000 max loss minus 5K. I've got to shut down and walk away. And so I turned off the computer. Oh, well, I actually didn't turn off the computer. I turned off I shut things down, but I left the chart still up. So my chart was still up and I kind of switched gears and was doing something else for a few minutes. And then I hear my scanner go off as this starts to hit 650 and 7. And I was like, you know, this is ridiculous, unbelievable. So I end up getting back in and look at this jackknife right here. Massive jackknife, goes to 780, almost 8, rejects back down. Then next thing you know, it's back up to the high. There's another rejection right here. It keeps going, pulls back a little bit. And now I'm just fully focused on it. And I lost on that setup right there, trying to take the break of 750 for the retest of the high. And I lost, again, final loss was somewhere in this area. So I really got sucked in, and I didn't have any, it was like, I don't think I had a single winning trade on NUVO, which is crazy. It's ridiculous. So I ended up continuing to trade. I went down minus 7,000, and then I finished at minus 9,000. So I'll put the P&L up here so you can see. I'm red on 4 out of 4 stocks. I'm down $8,971.82. And I broke some rules today. I broke my rule of trading past my max loss. When I was down 6,000, I was starting to do my recap. I was like, oh, I'm going to start my recap here. And then I kind of looked at it, and that was right in here. So I sort of took this break, and then I came back and I was like, okay, I'm going to do my recap. And I was like, well, wait a second. This is looking decent. It's popped up. It's pulled back. It's consolidating. This looks decent. Well, rejection, another rejection. And then I was sort of still sitting here watching, and then I got it was this rejection right here. It's like I just still kept thinking to myself that this is gonna go, like it looks good, and it kind of did, until like sort of right here when it broke down. And the thing is, I just kept losing. I mean, I just kept losing. And I think for me, the whole idea of having a max loss is to cap your drawdown. Now, in hindsight, I'm wishing I walked away today when I was down 2,000, when I went from green to red. That's what I wish I had done, right? I wish I had walked away there. I lost an extra $7,000 more than I needed to. Now, on Friday, I was up like 5,500. So I just gave back everything I made on Friday. Thursday, I was up, I think, 2,500. I gave back everything I made Thursday. Wednesday, I was up like 2,500 or something like that. I gave back all of that. I just gave back basically 3 days of progress, 3.5, 4 days of progress in one day. And considering I had 27 days of having really nice discipline, giving back 3 days of that progress feels like 10%. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, I just gave back 10% of what I've made in the last 30 days since my last drawdown. And so if we actually look at that, that's kind of what started to get me even more triggered, because I was getting ready to do my recap and I was like, all right, well, you had these red days back here. This was a $10,000 red day. This was a $20,000 red day. This was 6,000. And I was just like, man, I really don't want to have a big red day here. Maybe this thing does look good. Maybe I can cut my loss in half. Not go back to green, but just make it more moderate. Cut it in half. But, well, nope. Couldn't happen. So I'm going to have a red day like that. And it's disappointing because then when I thought about that in this context, I'm thinking, you're having a bigger red day than you've had green since, way back here. That doesn't feel good. When you look at it like that, it doesn't look good, doesn't feel good. And, when you look at it sort of here, it's like you've made nice progress. And then in one day, you're taking a decent drop down. So if you choose to look at the glass half empty, you will see it in that light. And you're not wrong to look at. You're not incorrect in what you're looking at, but it's the perspective. So after that final trade, I was like, okay, I definitely, let's be real, have spiraled. At first I was kind of like, I don't know, it's, down 5,000, down 6,000, it happened really quickly. And I was, the market's, I don't know if I really spiraled. But then after I broke that max loss rule and then was still trading with big size, it was like, nope, you got to be honest with yourself here. This was a setback. So 2 things that I'll say. Number 1, I want to talk about how I kind of pull myself out of the funk, and then I'm able to do this recap right now and move on for the rest of the day and rebound tomorrow. And second, I want to talk a little bit about, sort of the context here. So I still had 27 days in a row right here where I had discipline every single day. And although I had 3 red days in that period, they were moderate, they were small, and they were successful red days. Today could have been a successful red day if I closed without breaking my rules. But I broke my rules. I increased my share size when I should have been decreasing it. And I traded past my max loss, and I traded in spite of the fact that all my sort of indicators were telling me I was moving in the wrong direction. So, okay. So today is going to be a loss. But if we look at big picture, am I positive in the last 10 days? Yes. Am I positive in the last 20? Am I positive in the last 30? Yes. And that is because for 27 days, I maintained discipline. I don't know that there's going to be a trader out there who can maintain a disciplined streak of 100 days, 250 days for the whole year. 500 days for 2 years, 750 days for 3 years, because we are human. These emotions creep up on us. And when they hit us, and we can be trying and have our guard up as much as we do, but then next thing you know, you have a day like today where it happened so fast. Really, it can be just a momentary lapse of judgment, and next thing you know, you're spiraling. And that's what happened to me today. And that's the reality. And the difference between me and a beginner trader is that these days are far enough apart that I have profit in between them. That's the biggest difference. When I was a beginner trader, you know what was happening to me? I would have, just for instance, 3-4 weeks, and then I'll just do this in black. I'd give it all back. And then another, 2-3 weeks, give it all back. And now I'm going into the red. Couple more, stretch here, whatever. And so basically in total, I was plus or minus 0, right? I did this for 24 months, 2 years. Now, the first year I came ahead, the second year I was negative, but more or less this is what was happening for 2 years for me, more than 2 years. It was just predictable. Like every 6 to 8 weeks, I would have this type of day where I would give everything back. And it was even more frequently than 6 to 8 weeks. So the biggest difference between then and now would be, there's a lot of differences, but one difference is that the losses are further apart. And during the in-between periods, I'm making more progress. During the periods when I am disciplined, I'm making more profit. And even on the days where I do have these losses, they're generally tolerable. Today is a little bit of a bigger red day at 10,000. $9,000-$10,000 red days are a little bit bigger for me right now. But if we look at my P&L just since 123, maybe we could even do 22. I'm going to go over here to detailed. I'm going to go to win-loss expectation. And what this is going to show down here is my drawdown. So I had a $100,000 drawdown in January of 2022. And then I had a $40,000 drawdown, another $40,000 drawdown. But going into end of 2022, my drawdowns were in the range of 20,000. And I pretty much have kept them there, except for this one in March where I went down 30,000. But for the most part, my drawdowns for the last year and a half, 2 years have been in the range of a $20,000 drawdown. So being down 10,000 here is not right now like kind of bucking the trend of a normal drawdown. I just have to be very careful tomorrow that I don't lose another 10,000, because then I'm instantly at the sort of bottom of my drawdown window, which is sort of 20,000. I don't want to, again, I don't want to start having drawdowns where I'm going deeper and deeper, unless I have the profit on the other side that can kind of balance it. Now, I don't even know why it shows a positive here. It appears to show positives because that's not the way, obviously, my equity curve looks. This is my equity curve at 1.6 million in the last 2.5 years or 2 years, whatever it is, since January 2022. So, just slow and steady, whatever. And then this is the context. This right here is where I had this drawdown. So when you have that context, that's when it's like, you know what? We're good. This is not... Let's put it in context. The glass is, I would say, half full, right? It's more than half full. Life is good. There's no reason to get bent out of shape. So how am I able to do this recap and go over these trades and this loss as relatively calmly as I am? So I have already on deck a guided meditation on releasing anger. And I have that in my notes to do on a day where I'm really on a day where I spiral, because I don't want to be miserable for the whole rest of the day. And I don't want to continue spiraling. I need to stop the bleeding. Now, I let myself bleed out a little too much today. I just kept thinking like this was going to give us that next leg up. And I was like, I can cut my loss in half. And it just kept getting like a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger. Now, one thing I'll say is that in the past, what I've done is I've had red days where I go from -2,000 to -4,000 to -8,000 to -16,000 to -30,000. The losses keep getting bigger and bigger. That didn't happen as much today. I could have started taking 15 or 20,000 share positions, and I didn't. So even in my emotional hijack today, I had a degree of self-restraint. In contrast to the emotional hijack I had back in February, I had a day where back in March, I had a day where I was using all my buying power. I was being very reckless and aggressive, and I could have gotten destroyed on that day. I mean, oh, I did lose 20 grand, but I could have lost a lot more. So, so today, all things considered, if I was going to rate my spiral days on a scale of, 0 to 10, 10 being my worst day of my career, I would say, and spiral being anything where I am actually breaking rules, I would say today's probably like a 4 or a 5. Being down 10 grand is not good, but it could have been a lot worse. And I walked away, and I've stopped now. So, those are some things that you should give yourself a pat on the back for if you have those. They're small victories. So anyway, so I did my meditation, and that helped me kind of reset, release that anger, and help me kind of put perspective around the fact that a week from now, I'm not even going to remember today. Good weeks, I'm averaging $15,000 to $20,000. So this, if it ends up being a good week for the rest of the week, could still end up being a green week. Now it might not. It might be a red week. And at the end of the day, over the course of months and years, it still doesn't matter. But the loss is manageable. It really is. It's bigger number for perhaps many of you, but for where I'm at, it's manageable. And I think that that's important to realize. I wish I had stopped sooner, and I have to be extra careful tomorrow because now I'm kind of need to rebuild that streak of discipline. What's most disappointing is that I blew my streak. I had this nice 27-day streak of discipline, and then all of a sudden today, just kind of, it just happens. The red to green move, the green to red move is what got me. Happened like that. And then I jump into another trade, and now it's like 9:45, 10 a.m. It's starting to get a little later in the morning. Now I'm down 2,800, 4,200 in just a crazy rejection. And now I'm like at nearly 5,000, but I'm like, I might be able to cut the loss in half. And then I'm down 6,000, might be able to cut the loss in half. I'm down 7, might be able to cut the loss in half, down 9. All right. Okay. And now it's like I've traded past max loss and kind of, made those mistakes. So it just happens it can happen very quickly. And this is the reality of trading. Again, the difference between a beginner trader or me as a beginner and where I'm at today is that the time between these sort of moments of lapses in judgment are longer, and the profits I make during those periods are bigger. So I can stomach the red days when they happen and the spiral days when they happen, because this is trading and it's hard. And this is why a lot of people won't succeed, because I can give you the rules, the system, and everything else. And even I still sometimes struggle to follow it. So as a beginner, if you can't follow the rules of the system to a T, you're going to struggle. And naturally, as a beginner, you're also going to struggle with poor accuracy just because, you're getting started. Accuracy does improve with time. That's when you start to get more space between the losses. But but the days where you get emotionally hijacked, I mean, that's going to be within, it's within your control to have the discipline, but you just know every now and then it's going to creep up and it's going to happen again. So today it happened. I'm bummed out, but I'm also, at this point ready to shut it down, call it a red day. It is what it is, and live to trade another day. No reason to give back any more profit on a day like today when clearly I don't have the focus that I need to trade well. All right, so I want to thank you guys as always for tuning in. I know you enjoy these red day recaps and find them helpful, so I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you're subscribed to the channel, and I put a link in the footer for our 2-week trial at Warrior Trading. I know that's, watching me losing money is not maybe the most motivating, I suppose, but in any case, if you want to watch over my shoulder while I'm trading and see how I recover over the next 2 weeks, would love to have you join us. It's $20 for 2 weeks, so come on over, check it out, and I'll see you guys back at it first thing tomorrow morning. All right, thanks as always, and I'll remind you, as always, that trading is risky. My results aren't typical, and there's no guarantee you'll find success whether you trade with me or you learn on your own. So manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.